Well, hello, it's Ty Anderson for Add-in Express, and in this video I'm going to be talking about advanced task panes, how you can build them, and how you can control them via code. I'll be using Visual Studio 2008 along with Add-in Express 2010, and I'll be coding against and demonstrating with Word 2007. First, let's cover what they are. Advanced task panes are special regions inside of Office applications that allow you to dock a .NET form that you build in Visual Studio. Starting with Office 2003, you had something called action panes that Office provided as a user interface element, and then in Office 2007 they changed the name to custom task panes, and then through Visual Studio allowed you to build your own custom task panes. Now, Add-in Express provides this capability from Office 2000 all the way to Office 2010, and all you have to do is build a native .NET form, design it however you want, add whatever functionality you want to it, and then use Add-in Express to dock it wherever you like. And there's several different features and things like that where you can resize them, you can hide them, you can minimize them, you can even move them by dragging and drop them within the user interface. And now the other thing is it's only Word, Excel, and PowerPoint that are supported for these advanced task panes. Well, I think that's enough explanation in terms of what they are. Let me just show you what they are. I have prepared two add-ins to demonstrate what they are, and with this quick, once I get done showing you, then we'll get into building them. So I've opened up Word 2007, and what we have, you see, are three task pane areas that have task panes or advanced task panes embedded in them. Now, I'm saying task panes. What I really mean are the Add-in Express advanced task panes, not to be confused with those that you can build using native Visual Studio tools. So on the left, bottom, and right, we have task panes. And what I want to show here, especially let's focus on the right-hand side where I have, you see, ADX Word Task Pane 1. If I click on the drop-down next to it, you see now that I have three full-blooded .NET customized forms, and really the only customization here is they each have icons and they each have a background color that's there to be very conspicuous and bright and all that good stuff. Now, what I want to show is really that if you have multiple task panes embedded in a dock area, then you can kind of cycle through them. Their name that you give them, their title property will display in the header, and obviously the icon changes as well, and the same thing here. And now I have the capability to, one, I can pick down and cherry pick whichever one I want instead of cycling through. I can also minimize the dock and minimize all the task panes that are embedded in that dock, and when I do so, then we see these little panels basically that would allow me to display them, etc. And then when I click away, they'll hide yet again. And another feature too is the ability, as I mentioned earlier, I can resize the task panes. I can, obviously I showed you I can minimize, but then also too, we can move them. And on that one, I don't have it set to where I can. Let me move to the other ADX Task Pane 1. The reason I have two is because I have two add-ins that each have a task pane embedded in the same area. And I did that just to demonstrate that all task panes areas are shared across add-ins. So if you have multiple Add-in Express add-ins that are defining or displaying and embedding task panes in a certain dock area, then you'll see this header and the ability to cycle through and see and select different task panes. So I'll switch to this guy, and this one is enabled to allow me to do this, which is select an area that I want to dock it to. And we have four. There's left and right, top and bottom, and this task pane, I've only allowed it to be docked to the right or the left-hand side. And so I'll move it to the left-hand side. And notice too that when I've done that, now I have two task panes embedded in the left-hand side, and automatically now then this header area displays and allows me to do the same thing that I demonstrated before. And that's just cycle through, and also we have the drop-down arrow where I can pick between the task panes. If I were to move it back over to here, then this task pane, which its settings are set to not show a header, goes back to the way it was initially defined. So this issue here of, or this ability here to move a task pane and have add-in express already show the header is a nice little feature. So it gives the users a clue or some sort of cue that, hey, there's multiple task panes embedded in that area. And lastly, what I want to show you is I can move this one top or bottom. So just I want you to see that these can reside in top and bottom, and also with the close button I can close it. And then lastly too, the minimize state, or excuse me, not the minimize state, but the hidden state simply hides them, but then we have the little splitter bar that will then expose them again or maximize them, make them visible. And that is enough of that. I think you see it well enough of how these can work, or at least where they reside and how they can act. Let's go ahead and I'll show you how at least I built this aspect of it, and then we'll get into some code in terms of controlling them. And I think I want to start out, we'll go to Word Options, Add-ins, COM Add-ins, and I'm going to go ahead and disable Sample Task Pane Add-in and Sample Task Panes Add-in 2. And we'll see them go away. And now let's go to Visual Studio and actually create something. I have Visual Studio 2008 open, and I'm just going to create a new project. I have Add-in Express 2010 installed, and what I want to do is call this a Sample Task Panes Demo. We'll click OK. I'll choose C#, that's great, and Microsoft Word is my target, and I like to point this out every time. Any Microsoft application that you have installed, if it were installed, like say Project, you see it's grayed out. If I had Project installed, it would be lit up and it would be available for me to check as a supported application. And then for this demo, I just want Microsoft Word, so I'll make sure it's checked, and I'll say Next. For the strong key name, I'll do Generate New, like I always do for demos. And now we have the project, and notice that it opens the add-in module, which is the container for all add-in express objects. It opens it in code view, which currently I don't want, and I want to open it up in design view, so I'll close the code view and double click add-in module.cs to open it in design view. And the very first thing I want to do is add what is called an ADX Word Task Panes Manager, and there are 3 of those. I'll right click here to show. We have the Add Excel Task Panes Manager, there's the PowerPoint Task Panes Manager, and the Word Task Panes Manager. And I just want the Word one. I could obviously choose it from here, but I like the new toolbar that's available on the add-in module, so I'll click that. And now I have ADX Word Task Panes Manager 1. I'm just going to take all the default names for this demo. And this Task Panes Manager is what manages all task panes, embeds them in their docs, and then manages the instances of them. And what I want to do to actually have some task panes to manage is I need to add some. So I will click the New Item button. I'll go to Add-in Express Items and click the Word node and choose ADX Word Task Pane as my template, and I'll leave ADX Word Task Pane 1 as the name. So what I want to do now is open it in design view, and I'll resize. I'm going to create 4 of these. I'm going to do exactly what I just demonstrated. I'm going to create another add-in that looks just like it. Now for back color, I'll do orange. That's great. And then I want to change the icon, and what I have here are the Visual Studio 2008 image library icons, and I'm just going to select from those. And in this case, I'll do that one. That's great. I'll close it, and let's add another one. Let's go ahead and add the other 2 as well, so I have my 4. Alright, add in Task Pane 2. Let's go back to the color, the back color, and I'll choose yellow. And let's change its icon. I'm just kind of randomly picking icons. Okay, number 3, which this one will be the one that I put on the bottom, so I'll make it not very tall, and I'll make it very wide. And the back color on it, I want to be green. And I'll choose some icon. That looks great. And now let's grab number 4. And again, I'll make this one tall and skinny. And the back color on it will be something really annoying like purple. And yeah, that hurts my eyes just a little bit. But you'll never see the purple, and I'll explain why later. And then I need an icon for it as well. Although you're not going to see it unless, let's do that. That's great. On this one, we actually won't see it because I'm not going to enable a header for it. Okay, so I'll close all of these guys. That's great. Now what I need to do is select the ADX Word Task Panes Manager, and I need to come over to the Properties window and click the little ellipsis button in the Items property so that I can add collections or members that will manage each of the task panes. So I'll quickly add 4, and as you might, if you're pretty astute, you'll probably guess that I'm going to match these up, each collection number with the task pane number. So what I want to do first is I want to actually look at the task pane class name, which every task pane that I've added is listed here, and I'm going to choose the task pane 1. And let's go through these from the top. I want to allow drop positions, and these are the sections within the Office application that I can actually move these to if I want. So the drop positions for this task pane I want to be left and right. I want to always show the header, and I want to have a close button. Everything else I kind of want to leave the same. Now, because of enabled drop positions, I also want to, or I've defined them, I should say, I want to enable drag and drop. If I don't say true here, then it doesn't matter that I've allowed drop positions. I can't move it, so it doesn't matter. And this is an example of, although the developer can decide if a task pane can be moved around. I'll allow hidden state. Now the position, this is important. If I don't define this, it's not going to show, it won't display anywhere. I want to make this display by default on the right hand side. So that's great. Now we're going to do the same thing here. I want this one to be left and right. I want to always show header. I want to have a close button. I want dropping to be allowed, and the position will be on the right hand side, and it's number 2. Now key point here too as well, so we see this use Office theme for background. It's set to true by default, which means it will use the Office theme to render the colors and its overall look and feel. I'm going to disable it because I want to show my slightly annoying colors, and I don't think yeah, there we go. I want to say the same thing here. And since it's on my mind, I'm going to take it away there. Start with task pane number 3. Now this one's on the bottom, and I want to allow drop positions on the bottom and the top. We'll show the header. In this case, I won't do a close button. The default state is normal. Notice we can do hidden and minimized, and the hidden being you'd see just the splitter bar, and the minimized is where you'd have that small little dock with some chevron icons that allow you to expand and collapse the dock. And I want to allow dropping or drag and dropping, and I think everything, oh yeah, position, of course, that's important. I want it to start at the bottom. And now number 4, on this one, I'm not going to enable any drop positions. It's going to stay where it is. I don't want to always show header. I don't want to have a close button. I want to use task pane number 4. Its position will start on the left, and I want to use the Office theme for background. And I'll say OK. And what that means is we are not ever going to see this purple color. Nothing against purple. I just thought it was stood out really loud and proud, and be a nice way to show you that if you enable Office themes, it overrides any formatting you do on on these .NET forms or the task pane forms or even form regions or anything else you do inside of ADX. All right, now we're ready to build the solution, and jumping the gun slightly. Now we'll register the ADX project so that Word knows about it, and we'll load it when we run Word. Looks like everything's successful. Now I will go ahead and start debugging and just run the application. And as expected, we see the 3 automatically that are displayed. We have ADX task pane 1 that's actually displaying on top of number 2, and we have it has the capability to minimize or minimize and display the task pane. And when minimized, we see that we can click each task pane, display it, click away, it minimizes again. And if I want to hide one, I can just click it and off it goes. Then that's working great. And then we see too that we don't have purple here, and we can't move it, and there is not a header. And then we can move this guy around, all those good things. So I'll go ahead and close Word. And what we want to do now is I want to show you how you can actually grab hold of a task pane and manipulate it, and give you a good idea of if you want to show and hide it, if you want to maybe change certain settings like size, etc., those sort of things, maybe move its position. We'll cover those quickly here in code. When I'm dealing with custom task panes and with other things like Outlook regions, any kind of custom element, user interface element like that, one of the first questions I have is, how can I grab an instance of it? How can I control it? How can I maybe control the display of it, hide, minimize, what have you? And that's what I want to start out with. So what we'll do, I have the add-in module.cs, and I want to didn't want to move that. Let's look at the events, and as you might expect, there's a lot of different events. So we have things like on task pane, after create, after show, before create, before show, and then we have the Office add-in type events. And in this case, what I want to do is I want to take control on add-in startup complete. And so with this event stubbed out, what I want to do, if we go back to say add-in ADX Word Task Panes Manager 1, I go back to the properties. You see here now we have all these members, and I can actually grab hold of these members in code. So let's take a hold of, say, item number 3, which is, if we look here, it's positions on the bottom. Let's say just in code, I don't care what I did in terms of configuring the properties, I want to put it at the top. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll say ADX task panes collection item number 3. Then I'll say position and top, and that will place this guy on the top. Let's go ahead and demo that, and I'll just hit the equivalent of F5. And when Word displays, I expect to see that task pane on the bottom display on the top, and it does. So that's great. All right, now what I want to do is show you how. Let's say, for example, I don't want task pane 1 to display on top, this orange one. I want task pane 2, the yellow one, to display on top. So let me go ahead and show you how to do that. So this first demo showed how to take control of a task pane from the add-in module level. So say maybe the add-in level. What I want to do now is let me show you how to control the add-in from the object itself, or the task pane itself. In this case, I'll do task pane 2 because this is the one that I want to control. I'll open it, and let's look at the events. And here, I want to use the after task pane show event. And what I want to do is say, if not active, then let's go ahead and say this dot activate. Alright, so now when I hit debug, I expect to see, well, one, not only the green task pane number 3 up at the top, I also expect to see task pane number 2, the yellow one, on top of task pane number 1. And voila, it works wonderfully. Okay, so that shows you how to, at least from the task pane itself, how to reference it and maybe how to force its way, say, on top. Now, what I'd like to do is show you how to control or grab hold of a task pane from a command bar or one of the menu items. And so what I'll do is I'll create a command bar and we'll control it, show it and hide it from that command bar. So I'm going to close everything but the add-in module. And let's add a ribbon tab. There we go. And I'll use the new designer, and what I'll do is add a group, and then in this group let's add a button. So this button, I'll just say show or hide task pane 1. That's great, and I want to make this a larger button. That's great, we'll do that. I'm not going to worry about doing an icon for this guy, but let's go ahead and we'll add an event on click, and let's use the ADX collection item. We'll say current task pane instance visible equals the opposite or not of the current task pane instance visible property. And then let's just make sure that it's the active one. We'll make it be on top. Let's go ahead and debug it, and we'll see it run inside of Word. Here's our tab, and here's our show hide task pane 1, which we'll see now. There's nothing to toggle and there's no drop down to see. Now if we show hide it again, there we go. Now it's displayed again, and it was on top just as we'd expect. And so that's just some examples of how you can take advantage of it or control a task pane with code. And I showed you how you could change its position. I showed how you could activate it, and I showed how you could show and hide it. So that's it for the code demos. And now let's create a setup package that we'll use to install on another system that I have that's running Office 2003, and I'll show how this same set of code can be utilized on a previous version of Office. So I'm going to say what I've did here is I right clicked on my project, and I'm going to say create setup project. I'm just going to go through and select keep the defaults as the same. And then what I need to do is go ahead and build the solution. I'll just build the entire thing. I could just build the setup project. And then what I'm going to do now is I'll take this setup program and I'm going to go ahead and install it on my system with Office 2003, and then I'll come back and I'll walk you through this code running successfully on Office 2003. So what we're looking at here now is my system that's running Office 2003, and I've installed the sample task panes add-in. And now what I want to do is go ahead and open up Microsoft Office Word 2003, and we'll see the add-in working exactly as we'd expect, where we have the 3 task panes, and instead of task pane 3 showing at the bottom, it's showing at the top because the code that repositions it ran, as well as the code that go ahead and activates task pane 2 and displays it on top of task pane 1. The only thing that doesn't work is the code that creates the ribbon and has the ribbon button for show and hide the task pane. The reason for that is that's an Office 2007 feature. To implement this in Office 2003, we would just need to add a custom command bar with a button that does the exact same thing. So that that's one difference. Even though it is backward compatible, if you want it to be fully backward compatible, you'd obviously have to code to the least common denominator, which in this case may have been to do a command bar. And that's the end of this video. again, here what I demonstrated was, well, first off, I explained what advanced task panes are. I showed how you can open them up inside of Visual Studio and use the Add-in Express tools to build them and set your design time properties. And then we delved into code and how you can automate them and begin to take control of instances of task panes and do things like manipulate their position, show them and hide them, and activate them. I think you'll find these tools quite compelling, quite powerful and useful, and once you become very familiar with them, you'll find yourself using them over and over again in your Office solutions.